Hey there, this is TJR for Music Worth Buying.
And this is Robert Kinsler.
And we are here today to talk about this new song that's been actually, it's a song by Kanye West featuring Paul McCartney. And the song is called Only One. And we're going to talk about that a little bit. And we're also going to talk about another single that was released by Paul McCartney called Hope for the Future. It was actually earlier this year, but we'll get to that in a moment. And so, Only One is a song that Kanye West said was, through the lyrics, is about his mom singing to him and through me to his daughter.
Right,
And,
to his daughter North. Right.
Yes. So, McCartney accompanies Kanye on the keyboard. He sings some very light backup vocals. They came up with the song together. We don't know at this point how much is what. Did Kanye write all the lyrics himself? Did McCartney help him write them? Kanye actually says he doesn't remember the lyrics. He really he's kind of really saying that like his mother spoke through him, and that after he
That's what I've
recorded
heard
it,
as well.
yeah, he just said he couldn't remember. And there's kind of this knee jerk reaction on my part because Kanye West started out as a rapper who had a lot of critical acclaim and then kind of became more known for his antics and for kind of outrageous, rude behavior. And so there's kind of this knee-jerk reaction to think that maybe that's just hype, but it's not out. It's certainly not out of the realm of possibility. But so, which one of us wants to go first on what we think of the song? Do you want to go first, or shall I?
Well, yeah, I'll go ahead and go first. I'm not, I have seen and reviewed Kanye West in concert one year when he performed at Coachella. I caught a few minutes of his subsequent performance there, but I wouldn't, say that I'm necessarily a well-versed or big fan of Kanye West.
Yeah.
But I was obviously curious to hear this. I haven't really been that impressed with some of Paul McCartney's previous collaborations. Fireman was much better than, let's say, I think his work with Michael Jackson and Stevie Wonder, on The Girl Is Mine or Ebony and Ivory. So I was curious to see if kind of what he might do here. And I'd say I'm not very thrilled with the overall song itself. I think that the ambition is there. I like the collaborative spirit, but the song has not grabbed me yet. What do you think?
Well, I think the lyrics are very good. I think there's tremendous potential here, but this really feels like an early demo, like a sketch. I mean, there is this feeling of spontaneity, like Paul just started playing some chords.
Right.
Kanye just started, just started, coming up with lyrics. Maybe they talked about it a little bit beforehand, but a lot of it feels very improvised, which is why I think sometimes, he's kind of running through the same four chords, but in a few places he changes it. The introduction, it's kind of a weird thing where he goes to G to B and then back to G again, and it's not real. That little opening is not real cohesive melodically. That's why I think sometimes I feel like lyrically it's got all this potential. Melodically, it's a lot weaker.
Yeah, and I agree with you. Not to backpedal all, but I agree. The best thing about the song are the lyrics, not necessarily his vocal performance or Paul McCartney's harmonies. You can kind of hear some backing vocals going on there, but I agree with you. It's very much of an unfinished idea, and I'm not saying that I would necessarily be a huge fan of it if it was more finished, but there is that sense like they're experimenting, they're trying to, feeling their way here. So you can appreciate it on that level, but again, I just was not that impressed with at least the song that I've heard.
I kind of wonder, there has been a lot of talk that I've been reading that this is just the beginning, that they're going to release some more collaboration together. And I kind of wonder if maybe we will see a more produced version, a more finished version. And this is just kind of like a little sneak preview kind of sort of thing. I think that maybe there was this feeling like, there was something spontaneous, because, there's this whole story where Kanye West keeps saying, after we recorded, I couldn't even remember what I said.
Right.
And this whole idea that he's saying, my mom was kind of speaking through me. And they felt that maybe there was this feeling that this was somehow spontaneously important. Let's just release it, and then we'll work on a finished version. Because it really does feel like, again, like even though the lyrics are good, it feels like they still need to be tweaked a little more. Like they need to be, the rough edges need to be kind of cleaned away, and like it's just the beginning of something. As an aside, I spoke to a friend who's a big Kanye West fan and is really heavily into him. And I asked him, so what did you think of this track? And to my surprise, he said what we both said. He felt the lyrics were good, but that it felt like this was something unfinished. And he also mentioned, I really disliked the auto-tune. And he comes from more the hip-hop, experience. And he said, I really disliked the auto-tune. And I said, yeah, I kind of wished he seemed to, I didn't feel like he necessarily needed, well, of course it was auto-tune, so maybe I don't know. Maybe he was badly out of tune. He was singing there, but I wish the auto-tune had been not there. And that's why you can barely tell that McCartney's singing, because I think he's auto-tuned also. It's so light in the background.
Yeah, I was really, and it may have been the computer system I was listening to it on, but I was really trying to discern, okay, is that Paul? Because I kept reading, no, it's Paul on keyboards and on backing vocals. So,
yeah.
But there's not really a stylistic sense that this is in any way kind of a McCartney tune. On a slight aside, I had read back in 2013 that Paul, kind of his dream collaboration was to team up with Tom York of Radiohead. That is something I think might have been a little bit better fit than this. But again, if Kanye West and Paul McCartney got together and they felt there was something there, they're very well known and obviously artists with great track records. I will withhold my judgment until I hear the finished kind of project. Like you said, if it's an EP or an LP or something like that.
Be interesting to find out what happens, or maybe it'll just be more of this. Who knows?
Yeah,
McCartney does try
exactly.
experimental things from time to time. The Fireman, the earlier versions of the Fireman were quite experimental. The later version, the most recent version, was much more commercial sounding, and really felt like, just to me, another McCartney album in many respects. That the last one that he did, and as far as other collaborations, I'm kind of halfway with you on it. I really did not like Ebony and Ivory. It's got a great sentiment, but I just thought the song was just, too syrupy for my pancakes.
Yeah, and The Girl Is Mine is I mean, it almost is painful for me to listen to that now, even though, it's like you can maybe see it within the context of its time in the day, and both those artists kind of were very, very popular, and it was that. But like I always think the ultimate collaboration is Under Pressure with David Bowie and Queen, two great artists that got it right when they worked together, and that's what you hope for. But that's not always going to be the case.
I agree with you on that one, and I'm going to disagree with you on The Girl Is Mine. I really like that song. I think it's a really cool, just light R&B song. I actually do like that one. I like it better than Say, 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 which was the other collaboration Jackson and McCartney did. I like that one too as well, but I like The Girl Is Mine.
Yeah, that one I actually like, and that one I didn't bring that one up, but I actually like that one maybe a little bit more than The Girl Is Mine. So, we can respectfully maybe disagree on those. But I think those were a little bit, obviously they were more polished and a little bit stronger in terms of, like, you could tell they were finished projects.
To say the least,
than Only One.
To say the least, yeah. Absolutely. Okay, so... all right, so I guess that's where we stand on that track. It's interesting. I think it's just interesting to listen to. Let's wait and see what happens. As it is right now, it feels unfinished. And so now, and of course, we're kind of just right on the heel. This came right on the heels of us the week prior doing our quick little report on the Art of McCartney disc, which is, that's already been posted, and you can listen to that. It's kind of turning into McCartney week this week because we didn't know he was going to do this, that him and Kanye were going to drop this single. But to my surprise, it was only a week or so ago, around New Year's, around the same time, that I found out that McCartney had recorded this song called Hope for the Future, which was for a video game, and that he had released it as a single earlier in the December, actually. And that was for the video game Destiny, and I'm kind of shocked that I didn't know about it. Had you heard about it prior to?
I had heard about it. I follow McCartney on Twitter, so he had all of a sudden I get these tweets or something. So I did go on and to my surprise, it came with a fully produced science fiction type video,
Yeah.
And I have to say, I like this song much better than Only One, Hope for the Future. I think it is a good song. I'm still trying to, what I was curious about after I listened to it a few times is the criticism. There's people that love it, people that hate it, and, I think it's a pretty good song.
I found it to be quite inspiring to hear, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, this song really kind of comes really close to that bar of, like I said before, with the term I used before, too syrupy, for my pancakes. Too sweet, too syrupy sweet. And this song kind of, I could see where it could get very close to that. And depending on where you stand on that, you might feel like this is just a little too sugary, saccharine for me. But I really liked it, and I thought it didn't cross that line. It was inspirational. It was hopeful, and I felt that it was emotional. I found it very emotionally moving, actually.
Yeah, and I like the use of the orchestra there, and actually, I guess the orchestra was recorded at Abbey Road Studios by and directed by conductor Giles Martin, the son of George Martin. So
yes,
there's some Beatle lineage here, which is kind of cool. But I didn't know any of that before I kind of said, hey, this is a pretty good song. I mean, Paul McCartney can still surprise you. I mean, as far as no one has ever had that sense of melody in the history of pop music, and he still can bring that to bear.
Oh, yeah, I agree. His last two original solo albums were extremely good albums. Extremely good.
Yeah, very much. Yeah,
yeah, absolutely. And
his vocals are terrific here, too.
Yes, they are.
On the track.
Yeah. Giles Martin also produced the track, too, as well.
Oh, he did? Okay.
Yeah, he produced the track, too. So, yeah, so we've definitely got some Beatles heritage there going on. And, beyond the obvious fact that it's McCartney. But
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Anyways, I really like the song. I think that Hope for the Future is worth buying. I think that Only One is at this point worth streaming as kind of a curiosity.
That's right. I agree. We're in total agreement on that.
Yeah. And then just wait and see what this future collaboration yields if they're going to do more. On one other side note, I heard that there was one other rapper that suddenly wants to do a song with McCartney too. I wonder if this is going to be like, it seems like rappers sometimes are always trying to one-up each other. I'm wondering if this is suddenly going to become a competition where rappers are going to want to, no, I'm going to do a song with McCartney. I'm going to do a song with him. Who knows? I hope this doesn't get out of hand. But let's wait and see what this collaboration brings, and and I'm really curious to know if we're going to see a more produced version. And I'm going to go let a little cat out of the bag right now. I of course cover songs on my own YouTube channel, along with occasionally doing an original song. And I've decided I'm going to cover this song myself, and I'm going to put a few melodic changes to it. I'm going to change up some. I'm going to actually take some liberties and change up some of the chords. And one of the rules I gave myself is I can't change any of the lyrics. That's the one rule I gave myself. I can't change any of the words because I feel the words are very important, are extremely important. So I'm not going to take the liberty to change any of them in any way, shape, or form. But I am going to I'm going to add in a few extra chords here and there, and maybe sing it melodically differently. But I've been working on this for the last day or two, and I'm hoping I can perform this live and get it on YouTube on my own channel, which I'll put a link for.
That sounds like I'll be very curious and anxious to see that.
Yeah, and you can do a report on it and tell me. And you can do a report on our Music Worth Buying, and you can tell everybody whether you like it or you think it stinks. And
yeah. Well, and I think all this whole conversation kind of brings into it is amazing how Paul McCartney, kind of like Neil Young, is one of these elder artist that remains relevant.
Yeah.
And it's on a total side note, I just saw and reviewed a Willie Nelson concert, and he's 81, and he came out with a very good album, Band of Brothers, last year, and he's so relevant. It's amazing that he's 81, and at the concert, sure, you see a lot of the baby boomers and old timers there, but you also see a lot of young kids, people that are curious about outlaw country rock and alternative country and that kind of thing, and they want to see a true legend that's still getting it right. His guitar playing is fluid, and and it's great to see some of these artists that are continuing to push themselves, like a Willie Nelson, like a Neil Young, and a Paul McCartney.
Absolutely, absolutely. One other little side note while we're discussing this topic of age. Of course, I don't know if you heard about this, but there was some outrage on Twitter over this song because there were Kanye West fans who didn't know who Paul McCartney was. And some of the tweets were along the lines of, well, I don't know who this McCartney is, but he's going to get quite a career boost from Kanye. And, you know, along those lines.
Crazy.
Had you heard any of that? I'm just curious. Had you heard any of that?
Yeah, I hadn't. I saw some of the comments on YouTube, but I wasn't sure how many of them were kind of kidding, or how like the whole YouTube exchanges can be, which they can be pretty lively.
These were Twitter.
So I tried not to read too much into any of that, but it was curious to see. It was pretty much with both these songs kind of evenly divided, with people that appreciated the songs or didn't like them. But one thing I will say, when people were complimenting only one, like we both said, it was predominantly, I think, because of the power of the lyrics and the message and kind of the intergenerational conversation. Mm-hmm. And I think that was a key element of that. And whatever your feelings about Kanye West and Paul McCartney and them working together, I think we can all appreciate, when people have to deal with loss and someone wanting to express that in a powerful way, that we can all relate to that.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think that's I agree with you. That's like I said, the lyrics are, I think, the most powerful part of this song, and so I want to wait and see if they do something more produced and kind of bring melodically up to the same level as is lyrically. But getting back to just the comments, those were mainly Twitter posts that people made, and I know there was some outrage. Some people were outraged, basically who got insulting towards these Kanye fans who didn't know who Paul McCartney was. And the thing is I have a feeling probably a lot of them were just teenagers. And when I was a teenager, the most important music to me was the music that I was hearing at that time on the radio, and I had no sense of history. I was a big fan. I remember when Elton John released his rendition of Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds back in the 70s, and I heard that. I had no clue there was a Beatles song prior to that, which shows you what I knew back then. And and then there I am as a kid watching the movie Yellow Submarine, and there comes the song, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, and I was suddenly like, oh my goodness, you mean this was a song before Elton John? And I didn't know the Beatles did this first, and shows you what I knew. But we all have to start somewhere, So anyway, I just thought it was kind of funny, and I just think people might have gotten a little too uptight about that, and just need to realize I'm pretty sure these were probably just teenagers.
Right.
But anyways, though, okay.
Yeah, well stated. Exactly. I think the important thing here, it sounds like, is we'll be continuing to tune in to see what happens with both Paul's solo career and obviously with what Kanye West and Paul might be doing together, and I'm sure have more to say about that when it comes out. And
maybe and hopefully this will have a more positive effect for Kanye in the fact that maybe people will think of him more now for his music again, as opposed to his antics, as opposed to his, the bad behavior, that whole situation with Taylor Swift at the awards where he grabbed her award and said they should have gone to Beyonce, and maybe this signals a change for him where it's more about his music and not his personal life, or not him doing
that's a good point.
Outrageous things. So I'm hoping that for him too, because he was very critically acclaimed when he started, and then suddenly it became more about his his antics, and which is never a good thing, in my opinion, for a music career. No,
you always want to keep, if you're a musician, you want to keep the focus squarely on your music.
Squarely on your music, not your personal life.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, hey, that wraps this up. We hope that you enjoyed this conversation. Let us know what you think. Leave your comments and tell us what you thought of these tracks, and we'll look forward to checking out your comments. And thank you for subscribing, and thank you for sharing the show with your friends on Facebook and Twitter. I'm TJR. I'm a musician and a music writer.
And my name is Robert Kinsler, and I'm a music writer and a musician.
And we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.
See you later, everybody.
Bye.